Hi friends, today we are going to see the past year NEET questions for the chapter Neural Control and Coordination. Today in this video we will complete part 1. Now let's begin with the first question, which was asked in the year 2017. So the question says, receptor sites for neurotransmitters are present on dash. So what are neurotransmitters? Neurotransmitters are endogenous chemicals that enable neurotransmission, and this is a type of chemical messenger, right? We all know that it's a type of chemical messenger which transmits signals across a chemical synapse such as neuromuscular junction, and that will happen from one neuron to another neuron. That is, the neuron will take the action to the target cell. That is very important, right? So it can be a muscle cell or it can be a gland cell, whatever it can be. So these neurotransmitters are endogenous chemicals that enable neurotransmission to happen. So coming back to the question, the receptor sites for neurotransmitters are present on the presynaptic membrane, and this is involved in the release of neurotransmitter in the chemical synapse. The receptor sites for the neurotransmitters will be present on the postsynaptic membrane. Okay, therefore the right answer to this question is option C, postsynaptic membrane. Presynaptic membrane is involved in the release of neurotransmitter, and the receptor sites for neurotransmitters are present on the postsynaptic membrane. Next question here. Which one of the following regions of the brain is incorrectly paired with its function? So let's discuss the options. So look at the first one. Cerebellum is the language comprehension. Cerebellum is not the language comprehension part, so the one which is wrongly paired is option A. But let's discuss B, C and D. If you look at B, C, the corpus callosum, this is a communication between the left and the right cerebral cortices. That is right. Cerebrum helps in calculation and contemplation. That is also right. Medulla oblongata helps in homeostatic control, and that is right. So now you can ask me a question. If cerebellum is not for language comprehension, what is the work of it? It will maintain the balance and the body posture. It is not concerned with logical part. So cerebellum involves in the balance part. So the one which is wrongly matched out of the 4 is option A. Next question here. Destruction of the anterior horn cell of the spinal cord would result in the loss of dash. Before we go into the answer, what is the spinal cord? Right? It plays a vital role in the human body. The spinal cord and meninges are contained in the spinal canal, which runs to the center of the spine, and the spinal cord is a long, thin, tubular structure, right? We all know about it, and that is made up of nervous tissues which extends from the medulla oblongata in the brain stem to the lumbar region of the vertebral column. And this encloses the central canal of the spinal cord, which contains what? What is CSF? It is called as cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so you can ask me, what is this function of the spinal cord? The spinal cord functions primarily in the transmission of the nerve signals from the motor cortex to the body, and from the afferent fibers to the sensory neurons to the sensory cortex. It is also a center which is for coordinating many reflexes and contain reflex arcs that independently control reflexes. Now imagine there is a destruction of the anterior horn cell of the spinal cord. What would it result in? It would result in the loss of voluntary motor muscles. Okay? Okay? So mostly you must have heard about the the common disorder poliomyelitis. It's the anterior horn of the spinal cord which are destructed, which causes the loss of the motor activity of the limbs. Therefore, the destruction of the anterior horn cell of the spinal cord would result in the loss of voluntary motor muscles, which is option A. Next question here. Stimulation of the muscle fiber by a motor neurons occurs at dash, and this question was asked in the year 2014. So what do you think will be the answer here? Motor means activity, something that we are able to move. So stimulation of the muscle fiber by a motor neuron occurs at the neuromuscular junction. This will connect the nervous system to the muscular system via the synapses between the efferent nerve fibers and the muscle fibers. Therefore, the right answer to this question is option A. Next question here. Injury localized to the hypothalamus would most likely disrupt dash, and this question was asked again in the year 2014. Okay, let's discuss a few points about hypothalamus. The hypothalamus, which is a part of the brain, is an important part. It is a highly complex structure in the brain that regulates many important functions, and it is important for brain chemicals as well. The hypothalamus is responsible for a main function which is called as hormone production. So you can see it here, right? So you can see here, so it talks about hormone production. Can you see it here? The hormones produced by this area, what do? They govern many functions. What are the functions that they govern? They govern the, so here is it, temperature, thirst, hunger, sleep, then rhythm, moods, sex drive, and release of other hormones in the body. Therefore, the injury localized to the hypothalamus will most likely disrupt the regulation of the body temperature, which is option D. Okay, next question here. The most abundant intracellular cation is dash. What is it? Okay, whenever we talk about, anion and cation, you must have heard about something called intracellular cation, right? Okay. Within the extracellular fluid, the major cation is the sodium and the major anion is the chloride. The major cation in the intracellular fluid is potassium, and these electrolytes play an important role in maintaining homeostasis. So I'm giving you the explanation again. Remember that when it comes to the extracellular fluid, the major cation will be, what is it? Sodium. And the major anion will be, anion is chloride, and the major cation when it comes to the intracellular fluid, it is potassium. Therefore, the right answer to this question is option C. Next question here. The diagram showing axon terminal and synapse is given below. Identify correctly at least two of A to D. Okay, so we need to mark the parts from A to D. We need to correctly find out which one is correctly, kind of matched. The right answer is A. A, if you look here, these are actually receptors. So A is correct. A is receptor. And look at C. They are synaptic vesicles. Therefore, the right answer to this question is option D. A is correctly matched with receptors and C is correctly matched with synaptic vesicles. Okay. Next question here. A sactical section of the human brain is shown here. Identify at least two labels from A to D. So when it comes to a NEET aspect, when we talk about this lesson, neural control and coordination, you can expect these kind of questions where you are given diagrams and you are asked to mark the parts. So it is important that you go through the diagrams, especially the section, the cross section of the brain, the neurotransmitter, the structure of the neuron. All these are important when it comes to NEET aspect. So here you are given the structure of the brain and you're asked to mark correctly. So out of here, the right answer is option C, because A is cerebellum and C is pons. Therefore, the right answer is option C. Next question here. The figure shows an axon terminal and synapse. Select the option giving right identifications of the tables A to D. Okay, again you need to see which one is correctly matched. D is actually the synaptic vesicles. So this we already saw, right? So these are synaptic vesicles. So A is receptor again. Therefore the right answer is again D. I think we've already seen in another question, so it's a repetition here. Okay, next question here. The human hindbrain comprises 3 parts, one of which is dash. So it is not the spinal cord, it's not the hypothalamus, or it's not the corpus callosum. It is the cerebellum. So before we talk about it, let's talk few points about cerebellum. Okay, so what is this cerebellum actually? What you can talk about it? Cerebellum means in the Latin it means little brain. Okay, in Latin it stands for little brain, and this is a major feature of the hindbrain. The cerebellum is the area at the back and bottom of the brain behind the brainstem. The cerebellum has several functions relating to the movement and coordinating. An important function that we already saw in the initial part of this video, we talked about balance and body posture. So this cerebellum contributes to it. Okay, the cerebellum has a special sensor that detects the shifts in balance and movement. Therefore, the right answer to this question is option C. And the cerebellum has functions like motor learning, sense of body position, balance and equilibrium, fine movement coordination. Okay, next question here. Read this question here. A person entering an empty room suddenly finds a snake right in front on opening the door. Which one of the following is likely to happen in his neurohormonal control system? So this we've already discussed. We talked about the adrenaline, which is secreted from your, from brain, which is your fight and flight hormone. That is, it is also called as shock hormone. Some incidents in your lives will actually cause a tremendous change in your body, and they are called as shock. We all know that, right? So that shock might not be suitable for the functioning of the body. Imagine you see people getting heart attack or any kind of disorder, the disorders which come out of shock. Tremendous shock. It's not a simple shock. So what happens there? Your heart beats rapidly. You kind of become nervous. So all that has to come to a normal level, right? One cannot be nervous throughout the day. It is not good for that person. So you have a hormone which is secreted from the body, which maintains that stability of your body. Likewise, now they are asking us, which is the neural hormonal control system? Okay, the right answer is option A. Sympathetic nervous system is activated releasing epinephrine and non-epinephrine from the adrenal medulla, and that releases the adrenaline, which maintains and brings your body to a normal condition, which is option A, the right answer. Next question here. When a neuron is in resting state, that is, it is not active, it is not conducting any impulse, the axonal membrane is dash. So when a neuron is in a resting state, if it is not conducting any impulse, the axonal membrane is comparatively more permeable to potassium ions, okay, and nearly impermeable to the sodium ions. It is permeable to potassium and impermeable to sodium. Now I gave you the answer. The right answer is option D. Okay, next question here. The nerve centers which control the body temperature and the urge for eating are contained in dash. This is a very easy question because we talked about body temperature in the initial part of this video. Yes, the right answer is hypothalamus, because it talks hypothalamus not only regulates your body temperature, it regulates various other functions like the body's mechanism. What are the other things that you saw? The moods of a person. Then we spoke about the rhythm, the heart rhythm, the sleep, the hunger, the thirst, all that hypothalamus contributes. Therefore, the right answer to this question is option A. And you have a diagram which shows the different parts of the brain: cerebrum, hypothalamus, pituitary, cerebellum, the brainstem, and the spinal cord. Okay, next question here. Which part of the human brain is concerned with the regulation of the body temperature? Again, the answer is yes, hypothalamus. Okay, hypothalamus, if you see, it is the part of the human brain, and it is concerned not just one or two functions, it is concerned with many functions, and it is the main part of the human brain. Okay, it contains a number of small nuclei with a variety of functions. This hypothalamus is usually a small cone-shaped structure. And how does it project? It projects downwards, ending up in the pituitary. And this part contributes to a lot of functions, and when it is disrupted, it actually causes a major impact on the person. Therefore, the right answer to this question is option C. With this, we complete the part 1 of Neural Control and Coordination. Hope to meet you in the next part with another set of questions. Thank you.